You ever wondered what it takes to build a boat from scratch? You ever wondered what it would look like if some couillon who never built a boat before decided to do it in his backyard, in a tent? Well, if you answered yes to either one of those, you probably want to hang around and see how this plays out. I'm going to show you all it takes as I try and do this right. If you want to check it out, you can click the link above and it'll show you the last 2 years in about 15 minutes. This is what I like to call Big O's Backyard Boat Works.
Alright, so y'all remember this is going to be the assembly here. And this is going to go down, through this hole that we made here. It's going to go down. And then we're going to set how deep it's going to be here. So it's about 1/8 of an inch. We're going to go 1/4 of an inch and leave it a little bit below the level of the floor. So we drill that hole to 3 1/8. And then remember, this is the basic construction here. So this is a pattern of holes that we're going to drill out there. I wanted to do this because I wanted to be able to check this. And what won't happen is these hose clamps won't go through this 2 1/4 inch hole. So this is just a 2 1/4 inch hole. Remember, we drilled it to 2 1/2. May have to go to 2 3/8 or something to be able to slide that through there. So that's what we got to figure out now. But I've also positioned this back on the center, and I got a 1/4 inch bit. I'm going to go ahead and make that pilot hole. That's the same size as the chuck there. See, we glassed all of that, filled it with thickened epoxy. So now the trick is going to be to drill this hole and come back with a router and make us a little cup for it to sit in. So you can see that this is 1/8 of an inch. Alright, so the thickness of the surface is 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to go a full 1/4 of an inch. That way it'll be 1/8 of an inch recess. So we basically just took this on the hole saw and marked it all the way around. So we're going to drill down till that hits the surface, and then we'll stop. And then we're going to router out the middle. Take the router and router out the middle. And we're going to see how that works. Alright, so you can see here, this is the original hole that we drilled out. And now we just drilled that other hole. So we'll have all of this will be a sleeve, and we're going to fixing to router that out or hog it out. And see, we got a nice clean little hole around there. Now we'll set the depth to 1/8 of an inch. Take the router with a vertical bit or whatever, and then we're just going to router this out and come back and drill that hole. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and drill the smaller hole now, and then we'll see how that works.
So as you can see, I didn't completely drill that smaller hole out. I just kind of scored it a little bit, and now I'm just trying to set the depth of my router. That's a vertical cut bit in that router, and all we're doing is just moving it back and forth and using that kerf of that hole saw to stay away from that edge, so I keep a nice clean edge. And here you can see, little by little, you can see me whittling away at it. What I'll do probably next time is I'll go ahead and drill the smaller hole as well, and then I just have to worry about the ring between the outside the cut and the smaller hole. So it'll be a little bit easier. I won't have to have that middle part right there. But I'm just going back and forth. This is just a little trim router. It's really easy to handle. It works, for this size stuff, it works really well. and all I'm doing is just, you know, going back and forth and then having to get the blower and kind of move that stuff out of there. I didn't put my vacuum over there like I probably should have. But it by controlling the depth of that thing and it always being on the outside, it controls how deep it is. It's almost like a CNC, a mini CNC or something. And now I'm just using a little tip by taking some adhesive sandpaper, putting it on the back of the hole saw, and then I can use that to sand down at the bottom of that hole.
Alright, so you can see now we're a little bit too deep with the hole saw, but we hogged out all the stuff and just left that outside, used that little bit of that kerf that hole saw made, and then now you can see that just barely fits down in there. It maybe has about a 1/16 of an inch or something to recess, so that's about perfect. That's about what I was looking for. Alright, so you can see what we just drilled out is all epoxy. And now we got a perfect little sleeve just like we thought, like we looked for. And I think now you can see how it's a little bit deeper than what I wanted to be on the hole saw, first hole saw cut. But it looks like it's gonna be fine. Give you an idea of what it looked like in the end, and maybe you can see how much recess is there, and then that's what she'll look like up underneath the bottom. So that's kind of the whole picture assembly right there. But all that's encapsulated in epoxy. So, as I was worried about with that 2 1/4 inch hole, these hose clamps won't go down in there. So this is why I wanted to do it. I wanted to try this out on this one before I got into the deck. So we'll make sure. So either we're gonna have to put this in there, hook the hose up before we install it, or we're gonna have to make this hole a little bigger.
Okay, so I really didn't talk about this anywhere else. I'm having to cut off that one little section of that doubler I put on there because it lands right on the center stringer, and I didn't want to cut the center stringer. I want to maintain it for strength, so I just kind of trimmed it back. All I really did was I took the skill saw and, you know, cut across the top of that and was real careful not to cut down into the bottom plywood, so I was really just cutting that doubler out. And as you can see here, by using this little multi-tool, you can hold it flat along the top of that glass. And as I come across here, I really never even got into that glass base layer. There was only just a little bit of residue left from where I had glued that doubler on.
And we'll just come back in here and we'll put a bunch of epoxy on this before we put it in, because this one's just going to be different. That's why we did this one first, was to kind of try this whole process out. So had to trim that out so it'll fit in that center section. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little while.
So I also missed this, but I wound up taking my little file saw or file sander and just kind of notching that out where I could fit those hose clamps in there. So that worked out pretty well. I'm getting ready to put the floor down, and so when I do that, I want to make sure that I've got everything already roughed up, because some of that glass has been in there, you know, for a while, and I've got splotches here and there, you know, of foam where it's dripped or dropped, and you can see all that stuff in there. And so all I'm trying to do here is just make sure that if there's, you know, that surface is good, so whenever after I put the floor down, I can come back, you know, pull on my fillets and then go in there with glass. But I've already got everything sanded and roughed up, so I get a good bond. Last thing I want to do is just get some neat epoxy coat everything in there before we get ready to put this floor down. Make sure all that plywood's sealed the edges and all that, so it'll be ready to go. But that's gonna probably do it for this run. We'll see what happens next.